Hello everyone, and welcome back to Breaking It Down with ALISHBA, where we take tricky math topics and break them down so that they are easier to understand. Today's episode is the straight line part 1, where we'll be looking at the gradient formula, the y-intercept, and the equation of a line from the gradient and the y-intercept. And then there'll be a part 2 that will look at sketching a line from its equation, the equation of a line from 2 points, and the equation of parallel lines. But today we'll be focusing on just the first 3 points. So let's get started. So what is a gradient? A gradient tells us the steepness of a slope. So for instance, take a skateboard ramp. The steeper the ramp, the higher the gradient, and the flatter the ramp, the lower the gradient. So the gradient tells us how steep the ramp or the slope is. In National 5 Maths, you'll be asked to find the gradient between 2 points on a straight line graph. The formula we used is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, where x1 and y1 are the coordinates of a chosen point along a straight line, and x2 and y2 are the coordinates of a different point along the same straight line. And we use this formula to find the gradient of a straight line on a linear graph. So now that we know the formula we use, let's try and find the gradient of this graph here. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pick 2 points along my straight line. So my first coordinates I'll be using are my x value is 0 and my y value is 0. And that's just this point right here. And that's the origin of my graph. If you can, I would suggest always starting here, as it just makes your sum a lot simpler and easier to do. And the second coordinate I'll be using is x value is 2 and my y value is 4. And I can label these now. So we have x1 and y1 and x2 and y2. And when I input this into my equation, I'll be left with m equals 4 over 2, which further simplifies to 2 over 1, leaving my final answer being m equals 2. And that's how we find the gradient of a straight line. One more point to remember are positive gradients and negative gradients. If our gradient is increasing, it'll be positive, and if our gradient is decreasing, it'll be negative. That's just one thing to remember. The next thing we're looking at is the y-intercept. This is where the straight line crosses the y-axis and is represented using the letter C. It is important to remember the y-axis is along the line x equals 0. Let's take this graph for example. So we know that our horizontal line is our x-axis and our vertical line is our y-axis. So we're looking for where our straight line crosses the y-axis. And here it is 2. So my answer would be C equals 2. It's really that simple. All right, so now we know how to work out the gradient and the y-intercept. So we're going to look at how to find the equation of a straight line from the gradient and the y-intercept. Now the equation of a straight line is represented as y equals mx plus c. Now we know that m is our gradient and c is our y-intercept. These are known as constants, meaning their numerical values always stay the same at any point along the straight line. The letters x and y are our variables, which means that their numerical values will change at any point on the straight line. Let's look at an example where we need to use our knowledge of gradients and y-intercepts to find the equation of a straight line. So the first thing I'm going to do is look for my y-intercept, because I think that's the easiest part to look for. So I'm looking along my y-axis and I can see that c equals minus 2. I'm going to just put that away for now. Now I'm going to look for my gradient, okay? So I'm looking for m. I'm going to pick 2 points along my straight line. I'm going to go for 0, minus 2, and I'm going to go for 2 and 4. So we know our gradient formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And if we use our coordinates that we have, it would be 4 minus minus 2 over 2 minus 0, which simplifies to 6 because we're doing minus minus 2, which makes it a plus, and then over 2, which simplifies to 3 over 1, which further simplifies to 3, making my gradient 3. Now that I have the values of my gradient and my y-intercept, I can input this into my straight line formula, which is y equals 3x minus 2. All right, now it's your turn. I want you to use your knowledge of the y-intercept and the gradient to find the equation of the straight line of this graph. Go ahead and pause the video and give it a go, and then we'll work on it together. So the first thing I'm going to do is look for my y-intercept. which is along our y-axis, and I know it's 4. So c equals 4. I'm now going to look for my gradient. Now I know that my gradient formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And to find this, I'm going to pick 2 points along my straight line. I'm going to go ahead and pick my y-intercept coordinates, which are 0 and 4. And then I'm going to pick these coordinates here, which are -2 and 0. I'm going to label them. So I'll have x1, y1, and x2, y2. And I'm going to just input this into our gradient formula. So my next equation will be 4 minus 0 over 0 minus -2, which simplifies to 4 over 2, which simplifies to 2 over 1, which means that my gradient here is m equals 2. And the last step is to put our gradient and our y-intercept values into our straight line equation. So my final answer would be y equals 2x plus 4. Alright everyone, that brings us to the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode, and do let me know in the comments if you did and what you'd like to see next. For now, happy learning, and I'll see you next time. Bye!